Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to F1 Manager. This is episode 45. Few channel updates real quick before we proceed. First off, we've been proceeding at 4 episodes per week for a while now with this series and just flown through now 2 seasons. We have 2 races left to go, and we're getting one of those out of the way today. Penultimate race of the season. But with the release of Victoria 3, which just came to the channel this week, and then with just over a week from now, the full release of Football Manager 23 and the series that will be coming to the channel as soon as that goes to full release. That additional content, I've got to clear a little bit of space. I've already cleared some of that. A little bit of that space is going to come from here. So 4 episodes a week is going to drop to 3 episodes per week for this series. That'll free up a little bit of space for me and time, as it is fairly time consuming. If you have not played this game as of yet, there's a lot of content that I'm cutting down into that 1 hour span for the episodes. I love it. I love it. I'm really enjoying it, but the time consumption is quite severe. Well, anyway, the other updates. One, lighting, awkward, weird this morning because I do not normally record at this hour where it's still just starting to get light out outside. I'm sure as we proceed through this episode, that will rectify itself and things will be fine. Things will be normal going forward. We're heading to Brazil next. It's a 2 week break, so we have a little bit of time, but at the moment, there's nothing actually happening until that race weekend that is going to impact anything. So we'll throw in the development points that I have for staff and drivers, and then probably straight into the race weekend. That seems to be where we're headed. Also, the awkward hour that I'm having of recording, like I said, will soon rectify itself. Has largely to do with just how busy I have been of late and a little bit of how I'm feeling at the present moment, which just yesterday I got a COVID booster and a flu shot, and I've been coming off of this sinus infection. That combination of all three and some other life stuff that has impacted sleep and my schedule, keeping me absurdly busy. Well, it's a big combination of factors that has me going. And so I turned into a zombie just in time for Halloween. So there you go. Apparently I'm a zombie for Halloween. I'm not. I do have a costume. Added to that busyness, I have a Halloween party. I would invite you, but you're not present, and nor am I prepared to give away my address publicly. Sorry. That's, that's a different matter. But having a Halloween party tonight, and I have my costume set for that one. But anyway, let's play some F1 Manager and wrap up Season 2 here in these next couple of episodes.
The carnival atmosphere has already started here in Sao Paulo as Brazil welcomes the Formula One Grand Prix. The Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache has been a staple of the racing calendar for decades, and soon we'll once again be watching the best drivers in the world give it their all. The Sao Paulo track is beautifully designed to present an enticing challenge for teams and drivers alike. Between medium-speed S-corners, hill climbs, and the high-speed section after Junção, this circuit calls for cars to have a balanced setup to succeed here. This is it. We're down to the last few races of the season, and it's time for that final push. Who will be crowned champion at the end of it all? We'll find out soon enough. Okay then, let's get to it.
And as we're preparing for the race weekend, favorable conditions for us are upcoming. Dry Friday and Saturday with moderate rain on Sunday. You would think that would not be for the entirety of the race based on what we've seen. I mean, even with heavy rain, it doesn't seem to be throughout a race. We always have those variable conditions. But with moderate rain, I would expect variable conditions. And based on that, we tend to outdo the other teams. Also, I'm thinking we're heading into a pretty favorable track. Let's look at how we did last year. Last year we were a lap down, but it was P11, P12. So it was still a good result. Only 7 cars finishing on the lead lap. I believe last year's race was in the dry for the entirety everyone finished the race. So no safety cars, presumably, and just straight running. We were just behind Charles Leclerc, but I believe Leclerc had one of the only actual incidents of the day, and recovered for a P10. Now there's a lot of fast, flowy sections here, but in terms of the cornering, they're considering, I don't consider these the slowest of corners. I would say medium is how I would classify Sao Paulo, but the game has classified them as slow sections. Therefore, we're looking at maybe not as favorable conditions as we would have hoped. I do think that we can certainly compete for points, though. And when you throw in the rain, there's always a chance to move up the grid even further. It's only FP1, but here's early, simple, obvious confirmation that new parts and old parts make a huge difference. Now, in practice, we are literally down to, bare bones bottom end of what's left of all the old parts that we had. Remember, Albon has not taken a single penalty all season, and we're into the final 2 races. And he's got plenty left in the base parts to get through 2 races. So he's going to be just fine not taking penalties. But as a result, the practice parts are atrocious. I mean, we're down under 10% for most of them, or very, very close to it. In the case of Porsche, we took the penalties last race. So those same parts that were supposed to go to the end, which on Porsche's car were slightly worse than what you were getting on Albon's car. The trade-off for Porsche, those parts are now the practice parts for these last 2 races. Those are old, used parts, averaging 40 percentile.
Yeah,
versus 10 percentile. That 30% difference is 1.2 seconds. 1.2 seconds per lap difference between the 2 cars. Not pushing, driving in the same style, but just having old used parts versus atrocious parts is a 1.2 second per lap difference. The cars have been very consistently the same, but now that Porsche has the new stuff for the final 3 races, he's got a definite pace advantage. Now, I don't know the difference between 100% new versus 40% used stuff, but we're seeing 40% used stuff versus 10% on used stuff. We're seeing how big of a difference that makes. Approaching the end of Q1, our banker lap was nice and clean for Albon. I had a little bit of a gap between Albon and Porsche. Porsche, meanwhile, though, may have lost 1/10 of a second, just, marginal, a very, very small amount as we were going through. I'll have Albon go first this time, and then Porsche, and it took him a little longer to set out than I thought it would. Hopefully he's still okay on his time. But anyway, we do have them both in clean air, and as long as we get the lap underway in time, we've got about 50 seconds left to do so here. Now 30 seconds left, and 20 seconds, we're okay. 10 seconds, Porsche past the start-finish line, and lap underway. I went back and forth on whether I need to go for that fresh set or whether I can save it for Q2 based on our times, whether they're good enough or not. In the case of Albon, it looks like he's already got 4 guys behind him, now 5. So Albon is safe. Porsche, not yet. He's got 4 behind him, somehow even ahead of Ocon. Gasly is much faster than Ocon this weekend. I think Gasly has brand new parts. And there you go. There is enough. There is enough drivers behind us. So we did make the right call here to save the tires. And it looks like we will be roughly P10-ish utilizing the used tires definitely makes it harder to improve your time. Albon just improved his. Looks like Pourchaire just missed out. There is going to be a ton of penalties in this race upcoming, as we have 9 cars. Nearly half the grid is facing a penalty. That could bump us up quite a bit, but it does look like there's a number of guys who, I actually believe most of them had penalties last race, that are around us with fresh engines. And outside of Pourchaire, Albon is possibly going to have the most used parts in these last couple of races, which is fine as long as we can get through and score a few points and secure that 4th place. That's all I care about right now. Albon's already in a fantastic position in the Drivers' Championship, and it may not stay the same over these last 2 races, but even if it drops a little, it's fine. It's the constructors that care about right now, and Albon's already provided an excellent Drivers' Championship position, regardless of whether it falls off a couple spots, for us to save $3 million. As we prepare our banker flying lap, I've got both cars on the same double used set from Q1. We're clean at the beginning. Guan Yu Zhou may get in our way before the end, but these guys do come around that final turn at full speed, so I think Guan Yu Zhou will just about stay out of the way, and does. So no impact on that first lap. It's nice and clean for both cars. You see how Pourchaire is ahead of Albon now that they both have a clean lap, and he's got brand new parts. Now, Albon's aren't in terrible shape, but brand new engine does seem to have a difference, at least a 1/10 of a second better for Pourchaire, maybe even 2/10 of a second better, and it puts him ahead of Albon. For now, though, the used tires clearly put us off the pace. We beat Ocon in Q1. I think we beat Norris as well. We should be somewhere around 7/10 down, but we're at least 4 to 5/10 slower with that used set. So our last run in Q2 is going to have to be a good one. Flying lap underway, fresh set of tires here for our final run in Q2. Have a lot of work to do as we currently stand P13, P15. But of course that was a triple used set in that first run, so we know we'll be faster. But as the first driver crossing the line is Alonso, who had actually spun on his warm-up lap. I think that hurt his time with the extra tire wear that he suffered as a result, and not getting the prep just right has already bumped us. So we're down to P14, P15. We're going to need a bit more. That half a second may not get us out of Q2, and I think that's about what that's what I'm expecting to gain, is about half of a second here. And sure enough, it is half a second. Albon jumps to P12. Pourchaire, I think, does have a better chance to go about a 1/10 of a second faster here, which might be just enough to get ahead of Alonso. But Norris is also... No, Norris is already done. Norris was one of the first to go, so this, maybe, Pourchaire might squeeze P10. And he does! He does squeeze P10. Okay, so that's a P13 for Albon, but that is a Q3 appearance for Pourchaire, and 2 milliseconds off of Guan Yu Zhou. He's got a chance to beat him in that Q3 shootout, but I don't think we're going to have enough pace to really beat anybody else. I think Pourchaire just put in possibly the best lap we're going to see, but fresh set Q3, where everybody else is using the U set at the end, might be enough. Look at that. 6 of the first 7 are on brand new engines, hence the speed that they have, and we'll be going backwards. If we can beat Guan Yu Zhou to P9 and then throw in 7 penalties, Pourchaire could be starting on the second row of the grid. And Albon not much further behind. We're going to get a clean run on this banker lap. It's going live right now, and Pourchaire 9/10 behind Sainz, behind Guan Yu Zhou, but that's our used set where everybody else is using that fresh one. So I actually still have one fresh one for the race, as we'll use one set of tires here, ready to go for this final run. And at the moment, we're actually ahead of Leclerc. Bottas also in range, but you can see we're a 1/10.5 back. Fresh set of tires will obviously make a difference, but will it get us where it needs to. So we have two guys possibly in reach. That Sainz will be behind. He's looking for the pole. He's got the provisional pole at the moment. Hamilton will definitely be looking to move up, especially ahead of the Alpine and the Haas. But Gasly, with the big penalty this weekend, clearly has a brand new engine in a pretty quick Alpine and has been consistently fourth place all through practice. He'll have a penalty. He'll go backwards, but he's going to be pretty quick in the race. All right, here is Pourchaire beginning his lap, heading down turn 1. Decent line through there. Never really fully take the curbs in this game terribly well. It's not totally indicative of real life, but close enough on the realism factor. Had a few wobbles. That was one really bad turn. That's another really bad turn, so I'd imagine that's probably not going to result. Bottas getting a much better time, so he goes up. Guan Yu Zhou is still in reach. That's the only one we have a chance at here, with Bottas gaining over 1/10 of a second on his lap. And Pourchaire crosses the line. Does! Guan Yu Zhou beat us by, what was it, 3 milliseconds in Q2. We beat him by 1 in Q3, so that is P9. So we do get ahead of Guan Yu Zhou, and Zhou did not have a penalty, so that is a key one right there, as 6 of 8 cars ahead of us are all carrying penalties.
Race day has arrived and the time has come for these drivers to fight it out wheel to wheel.
Qualifying went well for Williams, as attested by their strong position on the grid. Now it's all about finding that edge for the race itself. These past few days, Ferrari have been absolutely thrilling their fans. Now let's see if they can make the Tifosi proud by capitalizing on that grid position. And the race will be taking place under blue skies. That means the teams should be able to apply their strategies without any added complications.
And when it comes down to it, there's simply no telling what will happen here in the ups and downs of Sao Paulo.
So we've got rain coming in the later half of the race. Track grip, getting better and better until that point. It's coming somewhere right around lap 40, maybe 39, where we'll be making this changeover. It looks like it's going to be more than enough track dampness to justify the wets, and probably for the entirety. We might get near the border of intermediates just a couple of times. So realistically, unless the final stint here at the end of the race dries out a little faster than expected, and the last handful of laps are push on intermediates type situation, it'll depend on how far out that happens. But otherwise, I think you're staying on wets probably with just that one additional stop all the way to the end of the race. But in the meantime, we've got to navigate, a good 39 to 40 laps, maybe 41 laps, before all of that's going to take place. Therefore, the logical way, as the hards would be a real stretch to try to go 40 laps. You're looking at a standard 2-stopper here anyway. I think we're still having a 2-stopper. Just, a wet cop out at the end instead of a dry one. But a double medium run with stop roughly halfway, somewhere around lap 20 to 22, to get us towards the end. The later we stop, the harder we can push on the second stint, or we push early. So I will have some options. I won't worry as much about tire wear as I can push fairly hard for one of the strategies. You can see there is going to be some tire life left running normal. That'll allow us to go aggressive a bit, but with both drivers being good on tire wear, I think at least one stint can have a fair bit of aggressive driving to it, to try to gain some track position prior to the rain. Now, with just a single stop, and if everybody stays out, I don't think we're going to see the significant gains tactically that we've seen in some of the other races. It's just switch to the wets, and somebody might wait a lap or two long, too long, and that could see some gains. But outside of that, I don't see much in the way of wet strategy being a factor, except possibly during that final, 6, 7, 8 laps of the race. Now, with the rain coming later, and with the strategy and the multi-stop and thinking that aggressive is a better way to go, we're not going to be patient and light. We want to have the ability to push fuel when we need to push fuel. Not taking any extra on board. We'll take the standard amount for both drivers and know that they can push when they need to push and then recover when they need to recover. And that expecting, that during that last 30 laps or so, they'll recover a little bit more if we expend, more than what we have in that first 40 laps by a bit. But starting grid position looking really good for both drivers, even with everything used and not getting out of Q2. Albon's going to start from P8, and just as I suspected, Pourchaire does bump all the way up to the second row of the grid. We're going to start this race from third position.
As the sun continues to shine, it seems like nothing can dampen the mood of excitement here at the track. Looking now at the Williams. They're up in third position, tantalizingly close to pole. And then we've got Alex Albon. A top 10 position today, but will they be able to capitalize on it? And we're just moments away now. Who will win? Only time will tell, here at the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
Okay, it should be an interesting race. We've got good grid position. We've got lots of really fast cars behind us. We've got fast cars ahead of us. We are surrounded by fast cars. And again, all those grid penalties, 9 cars. We've got brand new engines, so they're going to have extra pace. We're going to try to be aggressive and see where that can take us. As you can see, Pourchaire pushes on and recovers that P3. Albon, meanwhile, in P8 is putting Vettel under a bit of pressure here. Leclerc, the only front 6 key runner that is still in that top echelon of cars. And that's because he took the penalties last time out. Verstappen, the fastest of those with the smallest grid penalty, who is still there or thereabouts as he sits in P6. And then Russell brings up the first of the other 4. They are all well down outside of the top 10. And Pourchaire has gone around Magnussen for P2. So Pourchaire into second spot on the grid. But Magnussen is battling back for the time being. And I would like to continue pushing on a little bit longer here because I would love to stay, possibly, in the coattails of Leclerc and get Brugg around the track and see some sort of gap open behind us, and Pourchaire running away in the top 3 position. And it looks like Magnussen's got the kind of pace to stay up here. Guan Yu Zhou, nearly a second behind, so maybe before DRS kicks in, we can have a train of 3 with a big gap behind. That would be ideal. Meanwhile, Albon still putting the guys ahead of him under pressure, particularly Vettel, but unable to make a move. And Norris seems to be hanging back a little bit further. Norris on the soft compound. Different strategy we're seeing. Actually, Norris is the first one on a different strategy. Schumacher, Tsunoda, and Ocon all on the soft compound. Albon now having a look to the inside of Vettel down the straight, but he tucks back in, switches back to the other side, and just flew through his battery down that straight, trying to make a pass, and now it's empty. I believe he was at 60 or 70% at the start of the straight. He just drained the hell out of that thing to try to get around Vettel, and still putting Vettel under pressure at the moment. Get into the inside here. If he can't get up beside him under braking, then we are going to have to go into, let's say, a harvest mode here. Oh, side by side, sector 2, competitor with a lockup. And we are side by side, so continue on a little bit longer here. See if you can't get the position. That's Sonoda. Sonoda with that lockup. And that is Sonoda in the Haas down to last place. He is one of those guys who's already at the back. Albin completes the move. It's going to go on to Harvest. Continue driving aggressively, but go ahead and go ballast for the time being as we're going to try to fill that tank. Porcher just took the race lead. Porcher just took the race lead. That was not quite what I was looking for, but if he and Leclerc can drive away from the others, as Porcher just set the fastest lap of the race, of course, at this point, right?
Let's take a closer look.
This move, because that is a pass for the lead. You can see exiting onto the pit straight, curved straight. Porcher gets the job done quite early on that one, but also gets the DRS because as they passed the detection zone. Okay, Magnussen well out of DRS range, so I don't mind if Leclerc gets past us here and then the two drive off together. Verstappen trying to make his way past Guan Yu Zhou in a better position. Albin still in P7. Said position gain. I think that was more of Vettel. Yeah, Vettel was trying to challenge. We just held the position there. Magnussen back within 1.4. This is the place. Leclerc, please get on by and then drag me forward. I'm happy to give you back this lead. Albin down to P8. Leclerc not yet able to get by, but he's going to have DRS again here in a moment, and is very close. Should get us this time. Hopefully we don't have two Ferraris clashing into each other. Nope, two Ferraris did not clash into each other. We do have a Ferrari engine, so that could almost count. Magnussen now 2.2 behind.
Oh, and Ferrari just gained a place.
All right, back to focusing on Albin. Still recovering that battery in the short term here. Porcher, I'm afraid to recover. I want him to just stay with Leclerc and drive away from the field. All right, I'm picking up a hint that Albin is not going to have very good pace in this race without being aggressive. He is struggling to keep up with Vettel. I had to turn the engine up for a good lap and a half there to get back into a decent range. While Porcher is keeping up with Leclerc, swapping positions, driving away slightly from those behind. Now that Verstappen has gone through into P3, I would imagine he will hopefully drive away from Magnussen quite quickly and then probably catch those front two. But as long as Porcher can keep up with those front three, I mean, that's ideal scenario. What I don't want is Verstappen dragging Magnussen up there back to those guys where it's a front four, but we'll see. We'll see how that plays out in the coming laps. But you can see Albin, you know, we're driving aggressive, and yet, man, we have a crash. Sector one. Guessing that's back to the grid if that's still technically sector one.
Let's see what happened there.
Locking up. Not a bad hit on the wall there. May be able to continue on, you would think. Probably replace a front wing. Broke off an end plate, I would think. Down to last place. Does he dive into the pits? Looks like he is. Yes, he is slowing down Perez into the pits. I think with Perez's race totally compromised, we can expect that he will be out of the points for the entirety of the race. He's got so much ground to cover, unless, of course, a safety car rebunches the field up. In the case of Albin, he's got himself a train, starting with Alonso, so he can very much get ahead of these guys. That's from 5th down to 12th on Alpha, down to the next, all in DRS range of each other. So for Albin, settling in is a good thing. I don't think we need to push anytime soon, as he's struggling pace-wise. So I think he's got to drive aggressively to stay within that second, and occasionally I might even have to push harder. But we definitely don't want to lose that DRS train. Share. And here comes Verstappen, dragging Magnussen forward. And so now we're going to have a front 4. So Magnussen is caught back up. He's not able to keep up with us, but he is able to keep up with Verstappen. Verstappen is clearly fast enough that he's coming at us. So Leclerc, not that fast today, as we're keeping up with him. Though, our train and that train behind, we're not talking about a significant advantage here. And Leclerc goes by, second DRS zone. That first one, we tend to have enough of a run that we are staying ahead. But then we get to the second DRS zone, and that's it. Slightly. Norris, what a big holdup in the back of the grid as Norris spins and blocks that back section. 5 cars there losing time, and then Perez behind them. So that's the back end of the grid. Ocon on his own.
And there's an overtake from
Mercedes way to the back, but I think both had penalties today. So got up there. Sainz just had a big off. Albin as well. Albin is caught up in this, and it looks like he might be out.
Okay.
Sainz picking up the penalty, and Albin is out of the race.
Yes.
Safety car.
Let's take a look at the replay. Now we see the Williams here.
So Sainz hitting us from the inside as we enter the corner, and that's it. He's the one who picked up the penalty. So Porsche still fastest lap, by the way. Sainz penalty. Albin, unfortunately, out of the race. May even be carrying some sort of damage to, like, say, the gearbox there. It's lap 17. I should have pit there. I was so distracted with Albin getting out of the race. That would have been a really good time to pit. Sainz is back in the field. Well, those guys are pitting, so they are not going to be. I think we need to pit. We need to pit now. We will not be able to push on this stint, but the key thing here is the pit stop is already done, and so many of these guys are going to end up pitting in just a handful of laps, as actually the entire top 12 are all going to be pitting soon, and we'll be in the race lead. These guys go to the hard compound, and we are ready to resume racing. And Perez actually still has not caught up. Alright, we're going to be patient. We are going to be patient here. No reason to attack at all. With everybody hard compound behind us, I don't think we're going to be vulnerable here as we resume racing. So we've given up some definite track position here, but again, with the field bunched up, I think we are going to ultimately be in a very good position here in just a few laps time. Not everyone, but there we go, already P7. We'll see how far these guys are behind us by pitting under green. Out a little bit. That is P2 now. Russell has yet to pit. We do have a whole string of hard compound runners behind us. Ocon, Sainz, Norris, Perez, and look at Leclerc. That was the race lead. That's who we were running with. And he's all the way down in P12. Verstappen actually comes out that much further ahead of him. Hamilton. positions there. So the player costly moved to wait. We did make the right strategy call. And we're catching Russell quite quickly at the moment. Okay, let's stay neutral, and after we make this run down straight here, we will put it balanced. Russell into the pits. Porsche
We want to leave
into the
please.
lead. Now you don't have the field totally spread out, but it's spread out. I mean, you know, we're looking at the front Aston Martin of Schumacher some ways behind us. Let's take a look more at the leader gap, because this is now gap everywhere to Porsche. The DRS advantage, we dropped
Williams
to P3,
have
but we get it back
lost
up to P2.
multiple
Again, having that medium compound is going to help our pace compared to these guys around us. But anytime we're out front, we're ultimately going to be a sitting duck. So the front is starting to really sort itself out. Sainz, Perez, the faster cars, have come to the front of the group. Porsche, the faster compound, comfortably now P2 with Sainz kind of leading the train. Verstappen got around Schumacher, left him behind, and is slowly making his way up to the front six. I don't mind that swapping back and forth again. You know, it's that DRS effect.
Red Bull moved
and
up.
You're seeing that constant change. Sonoda finally loses the ground up front, but Verstappen immediately pounces on that, gets around him.
Rain coming.
Wet weather predicted. We're getting close, lap 35. And there is the rain, but we are just passing pit road, so wasn't time to pit yet anyway. We're going to want to go full wets, and I'm guessing it's going to be this lap, so it's coming one lap earlier than expected. We thought it was going to be lap 39. It's coming on lap 38, and yes, we are already very, very quickly entering the wet conditions here. Not everybody diving into the pits. Perez stays out. They don't want to double stack. Ocon stays out. Sonoda stays out. Those guys are going to lose a ton of time with that extra lap. But Porsche, can we get a clean out here without getting held up with our pit box? And no, we are still waiting. We're still sitting in the box. And we come out last. 3, 4, 5, 6. So we enter third and we come out sixth. No, there's two guys actually going really slow up there, so no, that's not the case. Not the case. Full wet conditions already, by the way. And they are holding some traffic up, so we want to push. So both of these guys side by side are blocking the road, both on the hard compound, and Porsche. There we go, finally. Difference. Go, you have the gap. Oh gosh. Go. Come on.
Red Bull gained
I have the space, but yet I'm not attacking.
DRS is currently disabled. DRS is currently.
And it's full wet conditions, and he's on the intermediate, so we absolutely should get past him here and get clear. And we do. And Hamilton has caught us. Hamilton's right behind us.
And there's an
went around
overtake
as well.
from Williams.
Okay, back to neutral. Norris just drove away. He's like, feels like miles ahead of us. It's quite the gap that opened up there. That was utterly ridiculous how bad our attempt to get around there. So we've got 6 cars on intermediates right now. And multiple cars have crashed in Sector 2. Both Aston Martins and Alpha Tauri impacted on this one, and safety car is coming out.
DRS is currently disabled. DRS is currently disabled.
We can take a look now. Now let's have a look. It's Lance Stroll.
A lot of traffic here. An intermediate tire at the front holding things up.
Oh, no!
And yeah, 3 cars involved. Aston Martin in the gearbox of the other Aston Martin, and then the Alpha Tauri getting caught up in it. Big strategy call from the other teams. They have switched to the intermediates. Those on the wets around us, other than Russell, are all diving into the pits to put on intermediates. So I am now on a different compound than everybody else around me. Okay, and we resume racing with a solid field of intermediate runners behind us. And Russell, Joe, maybe even Schumacher are all going to end up pitting here, so we're going to be the only ones on the wet compound. Okay. And that's going to keep the field nice and bunched up until they start getting past me. And well, that's the second time that the strategy call has not panned out. That's going to bring us out in P18, last place of the runners on track. Did not expect to be here today. Some more heavy rain expected in a few minutes. Track drying out in the meantime, still staying in the intermediate conditions. Of course, we are.
So it's not raining in the pit lane.
Ooh, rain stopped. But heavy rain is expected soon, so we are going to want to see a pit. We're going to go full attack here. It's not going to, I don't think it's going to rain. I think it's going to dry out. And we're going to want to go on to the soft compound before the end. And, you know, I don't think we're going to get anywhere near the points. Five laps in the dry. What can we gain? We're giving up 30 seconds. I don't think we're going to gain enough. But nothing to lose by trying, especially if others decide to pit as well. We'll take the fastest lap of the race at the very least, take it away from Leclerc. Others are diving into the pits. There you go. Okay, it is happening. No blue flags. No blue flags. Come on, drive away from them. Drive away from them. That was yellow in Sector 2, so that actually wasn't fast like expected.
5 laps to
We
go.
just need to go aggressive. Maybe that's the problem. Driving too hard.
Okay, back off.
Overdriving. Joe, but we're not
Doing very good. Lap time are
Your
good.
fastest lap.
Good.
For now. For now, I think we're going to lose that
That's
in a
4
moment.
laps to go.
At that point, the race was completely ruined. It would have been less ruined if I pit right away. But we still would have been out of the points. I had to hope that the rain would pick up again quite quickly and get it.
Sounds
Didn't
like a
happen.
spin.
So, final lap. We certainly moved forward. Remember, we were with Schumacher. Schumacher's almost half a lap behind us. We were way behind everybody else now. Joe just ahead of us, but there's still a pretty healthy gap between us and everybody else. As we see another off on the track with the other Alpha Tauri.
Max
Vettel dropping into
Verstappen
P15.
over the finish
But
line
this
and
is
today's winner.
probably the worst race of the entire season. us. Verstappen picks up the win ahead of Hamilton, Leclerc, the normal cars at the front. Leclerc on a huge day of P4, P6. The Alpines don't gain much on us with P7 and P9. Bottas, P8. With only one race to go, I think our P4 is all but locked up in the constructors. So disappointing that this race did not pan out, but you win some, you lose some. And this one was definitely a loss. That is going to do it for this episode, though, of Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.